Begin paragraph text. Copyright and Artificial Intelligence. A video lecture by Professor Noah Arceneaux, San Diego State University.
Yes, students, this is a little video lecture that I'm doing about copyright and artificial intelligence, kind of an unusual topic, but I just found this. This was a lesson plan that I found from this website, firstamendmentwatch.org. So I just want to give credit where credit's due. Most of the information that I'm talking about comes from this particular website. Okay, now, those of you in JMS 494, some of this information is going to be repetitive because I just did a video lecture for y'all about copyright and patents and intellectual property. So I apologize, some of that might be repetitive. If you're not in JMS 494, if you're in another class, because I am going to use this in 2 classes, maybe some of the information is new. But anyway, I hope you get something about it. Copyright and artificial intelligence. First off, a quick definition: artificial intelligence is a kind of a generic term that we refer to a lot of things, but basically it's when we try and simulate human intelligence in machines or computers, and they're programmed essentially to mimic humans. Now, in science fiction films, there's often these supercomputers, like in Iron Man, there's one, and certainly in Star Trek. The idea here is that to create an artificial intelligence program that can literally think like a human and even learn things and even learn new things and do things that it wasn't specifically programmed to do. We do not yet have artificial general intelligence. What we have today is artificial narrow intelligence. These are very specialized programs with very limited narrow capabilities. They could give you directions, give you the weather, respond to very simple questions, but they can't really think in any way approaching the way humans can think. Now, computers are in fact making art, making forms of media, you might say. Here we have, oh, I see a typo there, c'est la vie, I'm only human. This portrait of Edward Bellamy was created by a computer, and it's sold in 2018 for $432,500. Okay, 432.5, pretty significant amount of money. Now, Edward Bellamy was a author. He released a novel in 1888 about sort of a socialist society. You know, at that time, it was more than 100 years in the future. But he also talked about a lot of like things that at the time were considered science fiction, like a speaker that would be hanging in your house that would play music. Again, we didn't have this in 1888, so he was kind of seeing the future. So I understand why maybe this AI program chose to do a portrait of Edward Bellamy. But we also have other forms of art being created: music, stories, films, all of these things. It's within the realm possibility that computers can generate this kind of stuff. You know, perhaps it's not surprising that artificial intelligence is making art. Computers have been advancing very rapidly over the past several decades. They can beat humans at chess, poker. I think there was a computer that even won at Jeopardy. But is there something inherently different about using a computer as a tool to make a work of art, or computers that can now think for themselves and come up with stuff that does not clearly exist in reality? For example, there was a program called Jukebox. I'm going to play a clip of it here in a moment, using artificial intelligence. It listened to a lot of songs, and then this artificial intelligence program created its own original songs. There's a pop song done in the style of Sinatra that makes me laugh. It's about hot tubs. The idea of a Christmas song about hot tubs, I think, is genius. There's also a country song. And yeah, granted, I'm going to play this clip for you. Granted, these examples are a little bit rough, a little bit sloppy, but I think you can, if you use a little bit of imagination, you can see how we're kind of on the verge of computers making art that's indistinguishable from what humans create.
Oh, it's hot tub time. as I like the tree this year will be a song. Oh, it's hot time, it's Christmas time, and so no upset in your life. I'll be there when she's right. And I don't need to call you up and say I can't. You should stay, you should stay. You should.
Okay, that was some music. Now I'm going to do like a little quiz here. I'm going to show you some images, and then you can try and guess at home if it's done by a human or AI. All right, now we have some copyright basics. What is the purpose of copyright? It is to give exclusive rights to a creator intended to primarily benefit the public. The idea being that if we allow creators to make money and financially profit from their art, they will create more art. And then after a certain period of time, the art is going to go into the public domain and that anyone can use it. Copyright owners have a lot of rules, I mean, a lot of power about what they can do, the reproduction, dissemination, the sale, etc., of their works. Now, to qualify for copyright, the works must be fixed in a tangible medium. Fixed, there's some discussion about that. What do we mean by something is fixed? And it must be original. Now, a lot of stuff that's passed off as art is really not original. However, the courts are pretty lenient, and even if there's sort of like a faint trace of originality, they will grant copyright. Work that is not protected by copyright goes into the public domain, as I mentioned, and everything is eventually supposed to go into the public domain. And just backing up a little bit, some things that can't be copyrighted: words, names, numbers, short phrases, symbols, signs, and titles. All of these things are not eligible, nor does copyright protect facts, ideas, or theories. Ideas are simply not protected. The expression of an idea fixed in some tangible form might be protected, but the idea itself is not protected. Must, now here is the crux of the argument. Here is the crux of the argument. Must the work be created by human? The Supreme Court originally defined author, and this was very old, so I apologize for the old-fashioned sexist language. The Supreme Court said the author is he to whom anything owes its origin, originator, maker. And then more recently, the courts have also said the party who actually creates the work. Could this be a computer? Well, most recently, the Compendium of U.S. Copyright Practices is pretty clear that the fruits of intellectual labor that are found in the creative powers of the mind, that's what's protected. And a computer might be a tool to help someone execute or achieve their vision, but the computer itself cannot be the originator. But as we've seen, computers are now at the ability where they can create works of art similar to what maybe existed before, but not totally like it. And I think an argument can be made that these are creative works of art. All right, I'm going to have to read from my notes here. This is a great, little story if you don't know it already. It gets back to the point of, does copyright only protect humans? And can someone other than a human somehow exert copyright? This photographer, wildlife photographer named David Slater, was in Indonesia, taking photographs of some monkeys. He intentionally left the camera open with this sort of remote control device, and a monkey named Naruto took a selfie when David Slater later publishes a book showing some of his monkey images, including monkey selfies, PETA, the People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, filed a copyright infringement case based on Naruto, the monkey. The courts were kind of vague and couldn't really come to a decision, but the judge ultimately said that a monkey does not have the legal standing in the United States to even file a copyright infringement case. So that case, that's the way that was decided, basically coming back to the fact that only humans can be authors. So we come to the question, should AI generated art, we're talking about movies and films and possibly even TV shows and books, could they be eligible for copyright protection? Well, the argument against it is that computers are not human. They do not require motivation or encouragement to produce work. Therefore, this is irrelevant. And computers can never be truly independent, that they're just following orders. Even if they're branching out, they're just following orders that some human gave them. However, other people argue that, yes, AI programs fulfill the basic definition of copyright, that they produce work which is fixed in some tangible medium. It is original. I mean, if we've recognized that you only need the faint hint of originality, that these AI programs achieve that. And then you could also say that the creators of AI need some incentive. Maybe the computer doesn't need incentive, but the programmers do. And ultimately, these programmers and these AI programs can produce material which will ultimately benefit society. There's another argument that when you do work for hire, like if you are hired by a corporation to create something, that corporation can often, and oftentimes they do, claim the copyright. That I did read this argument that you could extend that to computers, that the computers are just doing work for hire, and whoever owns that software should get the copyright. I think that's a slippery slope, because now you're treating computers as human workers with all the rights of a human worker. And I think that, maybe there could be some implications to that. So again, I don't know if we have an answer to this, but I just think it's a fascinating philosophical question about the state of computers in society today. You can create your own AI works of art using something called, what's it called? Night Cafe. You can create your own works of art. Here's just a free tool. I'm going to play around. Let's see if this works. Create, choose a creation. I'm going to do text to image, put in a text prompt. I might need the air conditioner. Air conditioning today. Add some modifiers. How about child's drawing? Okay. Let's see what it makes. Okay, that's what I ended up with. That's what I ended up with. Okay, I don't really get that, but okay. Just two other points before I conclude this little short video lecture, but right now there is a court case going on in California. I'm recording this late October 2021. Netflix is being sued because the Netflix algorithm, which I assume we're familiar with, recommended the show 13 Reasons Why to a teenage girl who apparently her family says her suicide, that spoiler, that show does feature a suicide, that the teenage girl was inspired to do suicide. So the family is suing Netflix. Netflix is arguing that the First Amendment covers its algorithm. And it's not that, look at my notes, it's not that the content of the TV show was under control, was under debate. It's the algorithm, that Netflix algorithm failed to adequately warn of what the show's content was about, and that Netflix should be exercising editorial control and judgment. So I think this is fascinating, and it kind of relates to what we were talking about a moment ago about, can we extend human rights and something like the First Amendment to an algorithm? Or is it just going to whoever the group of people were who programmed the algorithm to begin with? I can easily imagine that that algorithm is so complicated that any human element is now gone, and that the Netflix algorithm is functioning on its own. So should the First Amendment protect that. And if you are interested in algorithms and possible bias related to algorithms, I strongly recommend this book, Algorithms of Oppression. I got it a few years ago when it came out. Search does not merely present pages, but structures knowledge. And the results retrieved in a commercial search engine create their own particular material reality. What inspired this book was this professor, who's a professor here in California, noticed that when you did searches for different people or different demographic groups, or using the names of different racial groups, the results that you got were widely different. In fact, some cases downright offensive. You know, typing in certain words brings up some pretty horrific images. And so the book is kind of an exploration of the way algorithms, which might seem neutral and unbiased, can embody human bias, right? And if we have discrimination and discrepancies in society, the algorithms can, in fact, magnify that, especially when algorithms are used for things like to help judges determine the sentence that a criminal should get, or determine whether or not someone should get a bank loan, okay? So algorithms can have real-world effects. I also want to mention the next generation of smart speakers. I have an Alexa in my house. I assume many people listening to this maybe have something similar, or maybe your parents have something similar. These are pretty dumb devices, you know. I mean, it can give you the weather, maybe. Even then, sometimes it gives you the weather for a wrong area. But imagine the next generation of smart speakers, okay? What if these things were tied into a specialized database, could understand normal human speech? So if a lawyer shouted out, hey, I need the citation for such and such and such and such, that smart speaker would know exactly what to bring up. And there are serious discussions in the industry about certain specialized occupations, certain specialized needs, having a smart speaker that's one that's just a legal assistant, or one that's a medical assistant that could diagnose your condition and prescribe medicine, or engineers or chemists or other, you know, very specialized operations. Is this kind of stuff scary? Well, I think if these computer databases and smart speakers make a mistake, yeah, I think the consequences could be pretty severe, but maybe they're just going to be used to help a human, augment a human's intelligence, as it were. I think we're far away from trusting these computers entirely. All right.
Remember, students, computers are friends. We would never hurt you.